Picture this. You wake up and it's still raining. It was raining when you fell asleep. And the night before that. 7 days now. Your food ran out on day 3. The children stopped playing on day 4. Now everyone just sits, staring at the one thing that still matters. The fire. It's smaller than yesterday. The wood is running low. Everything outside is soaked. And there are no matches. No lighter. No second chance. If it goes out, there's only cold, darkness, and the sound of something breathing in the back of the cave that isn't one of you. For a human being 50,000 years ago, a week of rain was a slow-motion emergency. And how they survived it, what they did in those trapped, endless hours, is very possibly the reason we became who we are. Today, a week of rain means ordering in and binging a show. Back then, it was the difference between a group that made it to spring and one that vanished from the record forever. So let's walk through it, day by day. Because the longer the rain lasted, the more it revealed about how we think, build, and remember. The first move isn't food or comfort, it's the fire. Because keeping a fire alive and making one from scratch are two completely different skills. And for most of human history, most people probably couldn't reliably do the second. So the fire stops being a tool and becomes a patient. It's moved deeper into the cave, shielded with hides, and one person is assigned to it. Not for an hour, but for the entire storm. And they knew tricks we've forgotten. They stripped dead branches from under thick evergreen canopies, where wood stays dry in a downpour. They split soaked logs to reach the dry heartwood inside. They knew birch bark burns even when wet. We know how seriously they took this because they carried backup. When Ötzi the Iceman was found in the Alps, preserved over 5,000 years, he carried a complete fire kit. Tinder fungus, flint, iron pyrite, and spare tinder. Even then, losing your fire was serious enough to carry dedicated equipment against it. By day 2, the real danger appears. And it isn't the water. It's what the water does. Cold comes first. A wet human loses body heat up to 25 times faster than a dry one, enough to slide into hypothermia within hours. Then flooding. The best shelters, caves and overhangs, sit near hillsides and rivers, exactly where water rises. Archaeologists have found flood sediment inside caves people were living in, meaning the water came in while they were there. Some of those caves were never used again. And the worst one? Rain drives predators into shelter too, sometimes the same cave you're in. At sites in South Africa, human and big cat remains appear in the same layers. And some human skulls carry puncture marks, spaced exactly like leopard teeth. Rain compressed the entire world, squeezing humans, predators, and prey into the same few dry spaces at once. By day 3, they're stuck, dry, and unable to leave. And this is where something extraordinary happens. They start to make things. Caves are packed with evidence of manufacturing, tools in every stage of production, and dense piles of stone chips concentrated exactly where someone sat by firelight and worked for hours. And the work gets astonishing. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found a roughly 100,000-year-old ochre workshop, abalone shells used as mixing bowls, ground pigment, bone tools for applying it. This wasn't desperate survival. It was a production system. And then there are bone needles, delicate, with tiny drilled eyes. You don't make one while running from a predator. You make one sitting still, focused, with hours to burn. Rain gave people exactly that. Day 4 brings something so basic, we forget it had to be invented. String. Twisting fiber into cord is slow, repetitive, patient work. The perfect bad weather task. At a Neanderthal site in France, archaeologists found a fragment of twisted plant fiber cord, some of the oldest direct evidence of string ever found. And at Hohlefels Cave in Germany, they found a 35,000-year-old tool, carved from mammoth ivory, drilled and grooved specifically to twist fibers into rope. Someone carved a dedicated rope-making machine, and string quietly changed everything. It lashed blades to handles, built real shelters, set snares that hunted while you slept. A huge share of all later technology runs on cordage, and cordage was almost certainly perfected by people trapped inside, waiting for the sky to clear. 5 days in, the cave is the whole world, and people start improving it. At Sibutu Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found something you'd never expect from 77,000 years ago. Bedding, sleeping mats of sedges, rushes, and grasses stacked in layers. And the remarkable part is what they laid on top, a thin layer of leaves whose chemicals repel insects. They understood 77,000 years ago that a specific plant kept the bugs away and slept on it on purpose. Better still, the bedding was periodically burned to clean it. They weren't merely surviving in a hole in the rock, they were making a home. By day 6, the practical work is done. Tools sharpened, rope coiled, bedding fresh. So what do you do when there's nothing left but to wait? You go deeper into the cave, and you create. The paintings at Chauvet Cave in France are around 36,000 years old. Lions, horses, rhinos, drawn with a mastery of anatomy and movement that still stuns experts. And on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, a cave painting of 3 figures hunting a wild pig has been dated to at least 51,000 years, the oldest known narrative art on Earth. Not just a picture, a story on a wall. Here's the detail that ties it together. This art isn't at the entrance where you'd shelter, it's deep inside, through passages so narrow you have to crawl. Someone carried a lamp into total darkness and painted. When does a person do that? Not on a perfect hunting day. You do it when you can't go outside, when you've made everything there is to make, and the only frontier left is the dark. And this is the biggest idea of all. Rain may have given us culture itself. Picture 15 or 30 people packed together for a week with nothing to do. So they talk, they share. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied this among the Jew/Hawanzi of the Kalahari. By day, talk was practical, land and disputes and complaints. But at night, around the fire, the overwhelming majority shifted to stories, songs, and imagination. The campfire was the original social network, and the content was survival itself. Where the water holes dry up, which plants heal and which kill, how to track an animal, passed brain to brain through speech. And woven through it, the myths, including the stories explaining the very rain they were sitting in. This memory was astonishingly durable. Some Australian Aboriginal oral traditions accurately describe coastlines drowned by seas 7,000 years ago, carried across 7 millennia by nothing but people retelling them. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when groups sit together, exactly as a week of rain forced them to. And then the rain stops. Here's the twist. The rain was never only the enemy. When the clouds finally break, the group walks out into a world transformed in their favor. The soft ground holds deep, sharp tracks, showing exactly where the animals went. Some of the best hunting conditions on Earth. Rock hollows fill with clean water. Mushrooms erupt overnight. Tubers pull easily from soft soil. And in tropical Africa, termites swarm after rain, one of the most protein-dense foods there is, gathered with bare hands. The groups who understood this didn't just endure the storm, they profited from it. So what did ancient humans do when it rained for a week straight? They did everything that mattered. They kept the fire alive through 7 nights of darkness. They made the tools for the next hunt. They twisted the rope that held their shelters together. They built the beds, ground the pigment, and crawled into the dark to paint stories that would outlast their world by 50,000 years. And they passed down, mouth to ear, the knowledge that would carry their children through the next storm. Nearly every tool, every myth, every painting was born in downtime, in the trapped, restless hours when they couldn't go out and had nothing to do but sit near a flame and think and build and imagine. Boredom, as you know it, didn't exist for them, because when you're sitting in a cave with the rain hammering down for the 7th straight day and your survival depends on what your hands make next, you don't get bored. You get creative.